Right, everybody, welcome to the Acoustic Cafe radio show, pre-show. And this is the bit where we're on video as well as on audio, so you can see us as well as hear us. And tonight, I'm absolutely thrilled because, we've got Molly with us. Molly Donnery from the Haar. And we got Fate of the Magpies in the studio with us. So, yeah, we'll clap them in advance.
Yeah, you'll hear them on the radio very soon.
Yeah. Molly, tell us all about what's happening with you, because the Haar are going from strength to strength. We saw them a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I saw you at Beardy when it was very, very cold.
Yeah.
That was our first live as well. That was that was the first time we played together live after recording. We recorded the first album in 2019, I think, and then COVID obviously happened and all of our gigs were cancelled, bar Beardy. And I was living in Ireland at the time, so I just came over for the gig and the lads were like, sure, you're here now, we may as well just record another album. So we actually did a bit of a sandwich. We recorded some of it before Beardy and some of it after. So it was funny, by the time we played our first gig, we had nearly 2 albums already, which was a funny one. But that was such a fun gig. Very cold though, you're right. The wind.
You weren't quite dressed for it, were you?
It would have been fine, but the side, whatever they had covering the side kept blowing in, and it was less so the cold. I was kind of fine in terms of temperature, but the wind got into my eyes and my makeup just immediately was like, I will not be sticking around, and started falling.
we felt cold for you.
Yeah.
The day before it was about 30 degrees.
Yes,
yeah.
I think it was. Yeah,
So
we all had little bubbles to sit in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
I did it very well. It was laid out very well, and the movement between the two stages. It was a great first gig. All things considered, we got very lucky with it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, you gained a few fans that day, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it was so nice to have the support. I feel especially with COVID and all, even when the album came out, you feel very outside of that kind of world. It's nearly a weird disconnect, even though people are showing support. Actually having that in-person live support is such a different thing. It was really cool.
So tell us the story about your discovery, because I always love the hearing this. This is the story of how you were discovered.
Yeah. So me and my family go to and one of the Aran Islands, it's just off the coast of Ireland, called Inisheer, every summer for a week, because my sister plays the Bowron and they have a really cool Bowron festival there called Kraken, which means skin in Irish, because the Bowron obviously is made from the skin of a goat. Fun fact all around. But so we go for that week every year, and it was 2019, yeah. So I knew Cormac already, who's the Bowron player in the Haar, and basically it was halfway through the week maybe, and him and Adam were doing a workshop. Adam's our fiddle player. They were doing a workshop on the island as part of the festival, and I think it must have been classic. It was about 1 or 2 a.m. In the pub, and I just sang a song, as I do be doing. I think it was, I can't remember what it was actually. The lads actually probably remember better than me. But I sang a song, and then Cormac came over and asked to introduce me to Adam. So we decided then that night that we might try just record something the next day. So I met up with them the next day, and of course, absolute goons, we chatted outside the pub for probably 2 hours too long. And our original plan was to go to the Plassey, which is a shipwreck on the island, for sunset or golden hour to record then, because we just thought it would look very atmospheric. And it's about a 40-minute walk at least from where we were, maybe an hour, and the sun was nearly down by the time we were leaving, and we had to bomb it along the hill. And we got there, and Cormac had a little portable recording set with him, which was very handy. So we just literally threw it up on a rock, sat down, and they were like, does this key work? And then we just took off and did the song. And it was funny, because even though we were kind of stressed before we started, it ended up just being so serene and really beautiful. it went so well. And I was kind of nervous because, you know, for me, like, especially like they're such prominent musicians and so like good at what they do. And I was an upcoming youth, so I was like, this is really nerve-wracking, yes, to do, but we just had a great time. And then I got to watch them they did an improvised tune after, and it was just beautiful to see. And we made it just in time to catch the last bit of sun as well. And so that went up on, I think it was folk radio that it went up on after. And then a few weeks later, I was, you know, in the trenches in a summer job somewhere, not loving my life. And I got a text from Adam asking me to come over to do an album with the guys. So it kind of all spiraled from there then, which was crazy. I wasn't expecting that kind of response at all, you know, like, because I was just on my holidays, like, so
they were blown away by your voice, I understand, from what I hear. So of course it's proven to be the case, doesn't it? Because the rest is history.
Yeah, I'll get my question in the next then. So how's that changed your life then? Obviously for the better, you're enjoying life a bit more.
Yeah, so I suppose at that stage, so I was just after finishing my first year of college, and I did theatre and film in college. I was still trying to keep up music on the side, and that was kind of always the plan. But I suppose it just really sped up the process for me. Like, I didn't think I'd be able to do anything at that scale until after college, because first of all, like, I think the confidence to produce like work is always just, you know, it's always a nerve-wracking thing. And I felt as well like I had to have the best setup, and I had to be able to like produce, record my own songs and all this, and like I had to learn all those skills in order to get to that place. But working with the lads kind of like it's taught me a lot. And obviously Murray Granger, who's our accordionist, who's absolutely insanely talented, but he's also an amazing he records everything for the band, like and mixes everything, and he's just stunning. And it's so great to be able to see him work in that environment as well. I just got really lucky. It was genuinely, it feels like just luck that I got to come over and do it. And also the skills that it's provided me with in terms of improvisation and everything is like, it's been so valuable to me, and also like such a fun learning experience. Because when I first went over, even though obviously trad like revolves around a lot of improv and being able to kind of think on your toes in terms of session culture and everything, it was a whole different ball game, because also Murray had never met me, so I'd only met Cormac and Adam, and like he was obviously signing on something he had no idea what that was going to be. Luckily it worked out for him, but we did the one song and it went so well, but I was like, now it's a whole album and it's all improvised. And especially the first album we did in the one room, so like there was like the bleed and anything, like any tiny mistake or like quote unquote mistake, because what I've kind of learned as well from working with the lads is that often those kind of like imperfections can add to like the narrative of a song and the storytelling, which is something I've really enjoyed working on. It's kind of changed my interpretation of a lot of the songs I sing as well. And also because I think that with the songs that we do, there's often so much emotion in them, and they're very heartfelt. So like kind of, you know, any kind of dynamics of like, for me vocally, with like kind of quivering of the voice or like drops in tone and things like that, I actually think they improve the song, because it like carries across those feelings that you get from it. And it's just being able at such a young age to work with such amazing musicians has been insane. And I don't like to forget them either, even though, you know, as a band, we do be making fun of each other and whatnot and all that kind of crack. But like at the same time, they're just, you know, such invaluable musicians that I've had in my life. Love you guys. I think
they were the ones on here that Sandra said they never hear the same song twice, really.
No, it's the same. I would have thought it'd been complicated to work with, but you seem to have coped with that.
Now,
it's
sorry,
great.
Everyone's got questions for you, but I thought we'll break in at this point and we'll have a look at that the video that was taken at Shrewsbury. Tell us a little bit about that Shrewsbury concert, because it looked absolutely amazing.
Oh man, that was crazy, because like it's obviously such a huge festival, and that video specifically, we were lucky enough to play 2 gigs that weekend. But that one's from the main stage. And it was so funny because we were sound checking and just seeing everyone kind of start to move in, like in front of the stage. It was such a lovely crowd to play to, and the atmosphere was lovely, and the weather was great, and like it was just so much fun to do a festival gig in a post-COVID life, I guess. We had such good crack because we also had the 2 albums done by that stage, so we really got to play with our repertoire in terms of what we were doing. And I think as well, we were getting to that more comfortable stage of gigging, like, and knowing each other as live musicians as well as like recording with each other. It was great. And I had some friends there, and my boyfriend came and everything. So it was so nice to like play live to people that like had heard so much as well from like the familial side of things. No, it was great. Is it Wild Magic Time you guys have?
Right, let's remind you of it now.
Probably need that.
got to go to the beer tent now, Tony.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't see you there taking pictures, Tony.
No, I haven't been to Shrewsbury for years. Oh, yeah, I used to
Okay.
go.
To me, that looked like, you were the sort of the glue holding it together because they were all going mad around you.
It's actually funny because I'm looking at myself there, and since then I've started to I go handheld with the mic instead of having it on the stand, because that was a big learning experience for for me, because when they do that, sometimes they'll like obviously have to move behind me so they can all like come together, and I'm always like, I'm missing out on the fun, like I want to be involved. And it's actually really, I think it's really helped with like the flow as well, because being able to turn to each other and connect and everything in those moments is so essential. I also feel like I look less like, sometimes when you're standing there, I was like, I look a bit like bored or something, you're just standing there and they're all being really cool and playing instruments.
The new Molly at the next festival
then. I think it could be a bit confusing if you're dodging around as well.
Oh, I do a bit of parkour between everyone. Yeah. No, it's a great one. It was such a fun one to do as well live, and like obviously that was kind of near the beginning of the live gigs we were doing, so we were still working out what it meant to do those songs live and experiment with them and keep them fresh, because that was the idea based on the albums. We still wanted to keep the idea of the improv at times alive. So there's loads of stuff I'm hearing there. I'm like, that's nice. I should do that again sometime.
Right. Let's go over to Lainey now. Lainey, you got a question for Molly? Lainey,
Lainey froze.
I think she's fallen asleep.
Yeah. Tony, let's go to you, Tony.
Yeah. Be a good idea, actually. Be a good idea to move around the stage, because I have seen Adam and Murray dodging ballet dancers in the past, and they managed to miss them. But coming back to that, I mean, they are, as the Cider House Rebellion, they are sort of famous for their improvisation and occasionally diving off down rabbit holes to see if they can catch the other one out. So how do you manage to work with people who don't really have set music? Where do you start?
That's a great question. So I suppose when we were recording, the kind of good thing was that I guess with the lyricism and like with the songs, they kind of took the lead in that process. Because one of the most important things for us was to provide a landscape for the stories that we're telling. And I think especially in the recording process, that's so important, with all these songs like are so historical and delicate and need to be treated as such, I think, like even when you're doing what we're doing. But I think it's a big thing for me with this was just, I think I was lucky to have a background in theatre as well in terms of the live performance aspect, because in terms of that improv and like I'd be very interested in devising in theatre. So a lot of the work that I do with that would involve a lot of kind of improv exercises and kind of building stuff up through improvisation, which lent itself very well to going into the performance side of what we do. And also, I think a lot of it is kind of just, you have to just let it go a bit. You have to let yourself go a lot in order to be able to give in to what could happen. Because the thing with having the lyrics, the issue is that I always have to have that certain level of concentration, I guess, just that I don't forget exactly what I'm doing in terms of changing lyrics too much. Because sometimes even in the moments, some people come up to me, they'll be like, that was a different version in the lyrics. And I was like, I know, I just like said something different. It'll never be too far different, because I think it's very important that doesn't, like, the lyrics are what has to, like, in what I'm doing as part of this, I'm trying to back up the lyrics through that melody, but there's a lot of trust, even though, yes, with what the lads do, they're often trying to like have a bit of crack and find those moments of like, oh, you're here and I'm there and we're catching each other out, or we're trying to find each other again. I think they do that, like we do that as well, and it's fun, but there's still that level of trust that like is essentially, I won't let you fall, like within it, you know, as in we're still here to like hold together a foundation, and like, because without that, you know, we'd just all be on the floor.
Well,
it's
to do all that and stay in tune, that's amazing.
oh, man.
Yeah.
I tell you, monitors are a great thing, because otherwise
right, let's move on. Lainey, you've got a question. I think Lainey's with us now.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get it in before I freeze again. Molly, I want to talk about your voice because it's absolutely stunning. And as you said, like you were kind of...
Oh, no, she is frozen.
Oh, no, she's back.
But they kind of pulled you up and have worked with you. Oh, I'm going to be really quick then. I want to know how much your voice has developed, having worked with the guys, and what else do you want to explore with it?
Yeah, that's a really... So I suppose I was very lucky growing up to have singing teachers and experiences that kind of encouraged me to experiment within even trad. Like I don't know if you guys know the band Gwitcha, but Anya McGeaney from Gwitcha would have been my main singing teacher growing up, and she was just incredible for encouraging me to like add variations to song and experiment with dynamics, and also to take care of my voice and focus on like curating it in a sense, like in a sense of self, that I wasn't like slipping in, even though you're doing trad stuff, that you're still making it your own. And I'd say with the lads, it's just been such in terms of like the strength of my voice. I feel like even from that Shrewsbury video, even since then, it's changed so much, and the trust of myself when I'm singing has changed so much. I have a lot more, sounds silly to say because I've obviously always had respect for myself, but I have a lot more respect for my craft and how I'm choosing the directions I'm choosing to go in with it. And like, I love doing traditional music, but I've never wanted to feel just like I have to stay in that kind of box when singing traditional Irish songs. And I think from working, especially like Adam, Murray and Cormac are all traditional musicians, but they're also classical musicians and contemporary, and they experiment with all these styles. And I suppose even though what I do with them at its core is traditional music, it's kind of encouraged me to experiment with what I can do with my voice and dynamics and different levels I can take it to depending on the moment. Because like some of the songs when we do them live, they sound completely different in terms of actual feeling and tone. And that's something that's really cool to be able to express. And I just feel really lucky to like be able to do those things live and to change things each day if I feel like it.
You have the voice to start with on that as well, haven't you? You've got to have the voice to start with.
I would think so. Yeah.
Anything from the studio here, Barbara?
Molly, hi. I like Lainey, was absolutely blown away with your voice, but also I wonder about the how collaborative the decision is to take a traditional song to a new audience by doing what you illustrated there in the video of taking what many people would know in a major key into a really moody, interesting, minory kind of, and improvised melody, but still retaining that familiarity of the original song, so that people could sing along with it if they wanted to, but they just know it's completely different to the way that they would have heard traditional singers sing that song in the past. So how collaborative is that process?
It's quite collaborative in terms of a lot of the time. So Adam and I would be more on the side of like picking the set list and songs that we choose to go forward with. But in terms of when we get them then to the group, sometimes we'll just be listening to one and we'll listen to a few versions, and it's kind of trying to find the gaps of what hasn't been done or what the possibilities are, once again, while keeping the integrity of the song. Yeah. And a lot of the time, sometimes that's clear and we know exactly the direction we kind of want to go in. And then Wild Mountain Thyme was actually kind of a difficult one because it's so distinctive in melody. And we were trying to... when we were recording that, it was actually quite difficult to like pull it out from that. And then that was when the minor idea came about, because when looking back at the lyrics again, we're like, this is kind of like, even though it's a beautiful song, there is a bit of a menacing energy to it, a bit of like that kind of undertone of like, yeah, there's like something unknown there. And I feel like the minor really brings that about, but a lot of the melody stays in that kind of major. So it's still, it contrasts, it contrasts really nicely, but it's quite collaborative. And sometimes what's fun about the improv is, I think it's for, is it the King Shilling, or maybe it's, I do some weird things sometimes, and sometimes the lads, sometimes they don't even know what key I'm in. Like Adam will ask me to do something, and I think it's the trad side of me, because I wouldn't know as much classically as they would. He'll be like, oh, do this in minor, do this, or try this that way. And I'll do some kind of weird, like in between modulated weird thing. And he'll be like, actually, let's try that, even though I don't know what it is at all. But it's just fine. I think it's less so even about the, sounds a bit hippy dippy, but it's less so about the keys and more so about the feeling, like as in, yeah, it feels right to bring it to that place. Yeah. And we all kind of, we've never not had those moments, like even like there'll be a struggle sometimes, and then we get to that moment and it's like, that sounds exactly right. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but that's correct. Let's go with that.
It's magic. It's magic of the Haar. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Right. We're running very short of time. So, right. I'm going to say, Molly, thanks very, very much for joining us tonight. It's been absolutely super. Very quickly from Tony, where are you going to be this week?
Well, this week I'm seeing a really interesting duo called Haar, who are a combination of Baltic and English sort of folk and traditional music, with some very strange Balkan instruments. A great band. We tried to get them on the show, and then COVID happened. So I'll have a word with them on Monday and see if we can get them back on the stream or in the studio. I'm also going to mention, of course, last week we were at the Graham Still Music Awards. We didn't win a prize this time. We was robbed. Some great performances there. Veronica, I'm going to have to look at her name, I'm afraid. Drozdowski was very impressed. For 16, she's making her own sound. I was also very impressed with Alight. So impressed, I got their album.
Oh, right. Okay.
Well worth listening to. Very interesting.
You'll be pleased to know, they're both coming in the studio very soon.
Excellent. Excellent news.
In a couple of weeks, I think. Yeah.
And that band you mentioned, if people are watching this local, they're on the railway in Winchester, I think, this weekend.
With that, we're going to have to finish now. So I'm going to end the stream.